The day of the Crucible arrived with great ceremony. Station Nexus 7 transformed overnight. Banners representing every Federation species hung from the corridors. The main biodome arena, usually reserved for large-scale training exercises, was now packed with thousands of spectators. Senior officers filled the premium seating. Federation officials watched through holographic projections from their distant worlds. Every cadet not competing crowded into the upper sections. Minho stood in the preparation area beneath the arena floor, listening to the roar of the crowd above. His heart pounded. Around him, other competitors went through their warm-up routines. Krell shadowboxed, his armored fists creating loud thunking sounds with each punch. Crystalix stretched, her crystalline body catching the light. Dax moved through a complex kata, all 6 arms flowing in perfect coordination. First time in front of a real crowd? Una asked. She stood beside him, already eliminated from competition but present for support. That obvious? You're gripping your water bottle like you're trying to strangle it. Minho looked down and loosened his grip. Just nervous. You beat Thork, you qualified. You can do this. Thork was a preliminary. These are the real fighters. Jin Lee approached, carrying a medical scanner. Final check before you go up. Any pain, dizziness, nausea? Just normal pre-fight jitters. Jin scanned him anyway. Your heart rate is elevated but within acceptable range. Try to stay hydrated between matches. The arena has multiple climate zones, and you'll be sweating more than most competitors. Because humans are sweaty, Minho said with a slight smile. Because humans have the most efficient cooling system in the Federation, Jin corrected. That's an advantage, not a weakness. Remember that. The announcement system crackled to life. Competitors, please proceed to the arena floor for opening ceremonies. Minho took a deep breath and followed the stream of fighters up the ramp. The roar of the crowd hit him like a physical force. The biodome stretched enormous above them, with sections of forest, rocky terrain, open plains, and even a shallow water area. The environment could shift to test different fighting styles and adaptations. Instructor Vorin stood at the center of the arena, his scarred armor gleaming under the lights. His voice boomed through the amplification system. Welcome to the Crucible. The crowd erupted in cheers. For 3 days, these fighters will compete in unarmed combat. Only their natural gifts, only their evolved abilities. By the end, one champion will emerge, proving their species' worth as warriors. More cheers. Minho noticed human flags scattered through the crowd, small groups of Earth personnel stationed throughout the Federation. They were few, but they were loud. The tournament structure is simple, Vorin continued. Single elimination. When you submit, lose consciousness, or can no longer continue, you are eliminated. Killing is forbidden. Permanent maiming is forbidden. Everything else is permitted. He paused, looking across the assembled fighters. Let the Crucible begin. The fighters were divided into brackets. Holographic displays showed the matchups. Minho found his name quickly. First match, Minho Park versus Sliss, a Serpix warrior. His stomach clenched. Serpix were snake-like beings, flexible and fast, with paralyzing venom in their fangs. One bite could end the match instantly. Una saw his expression. Venom? Venom. Don't get bitten. Helpful advice, Minho said dryly. The first matches of the day began simultaneously on different sections of the arena floor. The crowd's attention split between multiple fights. Minho watched a Crethan dominate a smaller opponent with pure power. In another section, a Vex used speed to overwhelm a slower fighter. Then his name was called. Minho walked to the designated combat zone, a section with rocky terrain and sparse vegetation. Slice was already there. Her serpentine body coiled loosely, her forked tongue tasting the air. Her eyes were cold and reptilian. A human, she hissed. This will be quick. The referee, a neutral luminar, raised one arm. Fighters ready? Minho nodded. His mouth was dry. Begin. Slice moved instantly, her body uncoiling with shocking speed. She darted forward, fangs bared, aiming for Minho's neck. But Minho was already moving. He had studied Serpix anatomy with Jin. They were ambush predators built for explosive speed in short bursts. But sustained movement tired them quickly. Their venom was their primary weapon, which meant they always went for the bite first. He rolled to the side. Sliss's fangs snapped on empty air. Before she could recoil, Minho was on his feet, backing toward the water section. Running already? Sliss mocked, but she followed. Her body moved in flowing S-curves, beautiful and deadly. She struck again. Another bite attempt. Minho twisted away, splashing into the shallow water. Sliss followed without hesitation. That was her mistake. Serpics were cold-blooded. The water in the arena was kept cool for species that preferred it. The temperature immediately began affecting Slice's metabolism. She slowed just slightly. Minho kept moving, forcing her to chase him through the water. 30 seconds became a minute. Slice's movements became fractionally slower. Her strikes less precise. Stand still, she hissed, frustrated. Another strike. But this time Minho was ready. As Slice lunged, he sidestepped and grabbed her behind the head, his hands finding the exact spot where her skull met her spine. It was the one place Jin had shown him where Serpics were vulnerable, where their flexible bodies had rigid structure. Slice thrashed, incredibly strong despite her size. But Minho held on, using both hands to control her head. He pushed her down into the water, not to drown her, but to further cool her body. Cold water flooded over her scales. Her movements became sluggish. The cold was affecting her ability to fight. Minho transitioned his grip, wrapping his legs around her body to control her length. He maintained his hold on her head, keeping her fangs away from his flesh. They struggled there in the water, a bizarre wrestling match between human and serpent. 1 minute passed. 2 minutes, 3. Finally, Slice's body went limp. Not unconscious, but too cold and exhausted to continue fighting. She tapped the ground with her tail 3 times. Submission. The referee called the match. Minho released his grip and helped pull Slice from the water. Her body was shivering from the cold. Clever, she admitted grudgingly. Using the environment. Using my own biology against me. You were faster and more dangerous, Minho said. I had to find another way. The crowd's reaction was mixed. Some cheered the tactical victory. Others seemed disappointed by the lack of dramatic striking. But Minho noticed the other competitors watching him with new interest. The human had won again, this time against Venom. The first day continued with dozens of matches. Yuna helped Minho review the other fighters' techniques between his breaks. Dax won his matches with overwhelming speed and skill. Krell brutalized his opponents with raw power. Crystallic seemed untouchable, her diamond-hard body shrugging off every attack. Minho's second match that day was against a Vortan, a species with thick hide and horns. The fight lasted 15 minutes. Minho used the forest section of the arena, forcing the Vortan to navigate between trees, limiting his charging attacks. Eventually, Minho found an angle to secure a rear choke, cutting off blood flow until the Vortan submitted. By evening, the first day ended. Half the competitors were eliminated. Minho advanced to the second day. That night, he soaked his bruised body in the medical bay's recovery tank. Jin ran scans and shook his head. You're accumulating damage. Bruised ribs, strained shoulders, sprained ankle. You're still human, Minho. You have limits. Everyone has limits, Minho said. The trick is making sure your opponent hits theirs first. Hana Song visited briefly. I watched your matches. You fight in a way I have never seen. Not with strength or speed, but with patience. Patience is just another weapon, Minho said. My match is tomorrow, Hana said. Against Dax. He's incredibly skilled. Yes, one of us will advance to the semi-finals. The other will be eliminated. She paused. I hope if I fall that you continue. Someone needs to show these warriors that there are different paths to victory. You're not going to lose easily, Minho said with a smile. No. Hana agreed. But neither is Dax. The second day began with even larger crowds. Word had spread about the human fighter who kept winning, despite obvious physical disadvantages. More Earth personnel found ways to attend. The human section of the stands grew louder. Minho's first match of the day was against Gorath, a massive Krethin even larger than Krell. Gorath was a champion from his homeworld, covered in thick armor plates that looked like tank plating. Yuna pulled Minho aside before the match. That guy is enormous. He makes Thork look small. I know. How are you going to beat him? Same way I beat everyone else. Make him tired. Find the weak points. Don't give up. That's not really a detailed strategy. It's the only strategy I have. The match began in the open plains section. Gorath charged immediately, intending to overwhelm Minho with brute force. His armored fist swung like a wrecking ball. Minho ducked and rolled away. Another charge. Another dodge. The crowd watched as the small human darted around the massive Krethan like a fly avoiding swatting hands. 5 minutes passed. 10 minutes, 15. Gorath was slowing. His armor was heavy and the constant charging was exhausting. His swings came slower. His breathing grew labored. 20 minutes in, Minho saw his opening. Gorath threw a punch and overextended, his weight forward. The weeks blurred together in a haze of pain and exhaustion. Every morning, Combat Group Theta 9 assembled in the training dome. Every morning, Instructor Voran found new ways to prove that humans were inferior. Minho lost count of how many times he was thrown across the mat. Krell, the young Krethen, seemed to take particular pleasure in demonstrating his strength. During sparring exercises, his armored fist would catch Minho in the ribs, sending him sliding across the floor. The armor was like hitting a wall. Again, Voran would command, and Minho would get up. Again, Dax was harder to deal with than Krell. The Vex moved like water, flowing around defenses with 6 arms striking from impossible angles. One arm would feint high while 2 others struck low. By the time Minho reacted to one threat, 3 more had already landed. Yuna fared no better. During one session, she faced Crystallix in hand-to-hand combat. Every punch Yuna threw bounced off the Shardborn's crystalline skin. When Crystallix struck back, even her casual swing sent Yuna stumbling. "This is embarrassing," Voreen announced after watching Yuna get knocked down for the 5th time. "Humans should stick to operating computers and filing reports. Leave combat to real warriors." Some of the trainees laughed. Others looked away, uncomfortable with the mockery but unwilling to challenge an instructor. Hana Song did not laugh. She stood at the edge of the training mat, her 4 eyes fixed on Minho as he climbed to his feet once more. That evening, Minho limped to the observation deck. His ribs were bruised, his knuckles were raw, and every muscle in his body screamed for rest. He collapsed into a chair and pulled out his data pad, queuing up documentary footage from Earth. The video showed the African savanna. A human hunter ran after an antelope under the blazing sun. The antelope was faster, disappearing over a hill. But the human kept running. Hours passed. The antelope ran and rested. The human never stopped. Eventually, the antelope collapsed from heat exhaustion. The human, still running, caught up and made the kill. "What are you watching?" Minho looked up. Yuna stood nearby, her own face bruised and tired. "Old nature documentaries," he said. She sat down beside him. "That's supposed to make me feel better? Watching our ancestors hunt antelopes while we get beaten up by space aliens?" "Maybe," Minho said. He paused the video. "Every species here evolved as apex predators. Krathens, Vex, Shardborn, they were all at the top of their food chains from the start, born with weapons and armor. And we weren't," Yuna said bitterly. "Voran makes that very clear every single day." "Right. We were prey for most of our history." Minho gestured at the paused video. "Lions, tigers, bears, wolves. Everything wanted to eat us. We should have gone extinct, so why didn't we?" Minho smiled. "Because prey that learns to hunt is different. That's dangerous." Yuna stared at the frozen image of the human hunter. "You really think we have a chance in the crucible?" "I think Vorian is wrong about what makes someone dangerous." Over the next weeks, Minho changed his training approach. While the other trainees focused on striking power and speed, he focused on endurance. He ran the station's corridors for hours, building stamina. He studied anatomy texts of every species in the academy, learning their joints, their pressure points, their vulnerable areas. Jin Li, the human doctor, became an unexpected ally. During one visit to the medical bay for treatment, Minho asked about alien physiology. "Why do you want to know?" Jin asked as he wrapped Minho's ribs. "Because if I try to fight them the way they fight, I'll lose," Minho said. "But every body has weaknesses. Joints that bend only one way. Nerves that can be pressed. Arteries that can be restricted." Jin's eyes widened with understanding. "You're not trying to beat them at strength. You're looking for leverage." "Exactly." Jin pulled up holographic displays of various species. "Okay, let me show you something. Krathens have armor, but look here at the joints. The armor plates have to separate to allow movement. Those gaps are vulnerable." He switched displays. "Vex have 6 arms, but they all connect to the same shoulder structure. Control the shoulders and you control all the arms." Another switch. "Shardborn are nearly indestructible, but crystal is hard and brittle. It doesn't bend. Apply the right torque at a joint and it will fracture." They spent hours going through anatomy. Jin seemed almost excited to help, glad to contribute something useful to a human's chance of success. Word spread about Minho's unorthodox training. Yuna started joining him on his endurance runs. A few other trainees, non-humans, watched with curiosity as the humans ran laps around the station's inner ring, never seeming to tire. Hana Song approached him one day after training. "You run every day," she observed. "Yes," Minho said, stretching his legs. "Why? The Crucible is not a race." "No, but it's about endurance," Minho explained. "Humans evolved to run for days. Our bodies cool through sweat. We can keep going when others need to rest. That's our gift from evolution." Hana's mandibles clicked softly, a vexed expression of interest. "You believe this will help you fight?" "I believe every advantage matters, no matter how small." She studied him for a long moment. "My people respect strength above all. But I think I am beginning to respect this too: determination, planning, patience." She paused. "You are not like the other humans I have seen in Federation space. They apologize for being weak. You do not." "I'm not weak," Minho said simply. "I'm just different." The preliminary matches were announced 6 weeks before the Crucible. These fights would determine seeding for the main tournament. Minho drew an opponent named Thork, a mid-level Krethin trainee. Yuna grabbed his arm when she saw the matchup. "Thork is huge. He broke a steel beam during strength testing." "I know. And you're not worried?" "Worried? Yes. Giving up? No." The match took place in a smaller arena. About 50 trainees and a handful of instructors attended, including Vorin. Thork stood on one side of the mat, cracking his armored knuckles. Minho stood on the other, looking small and fragile in comparison. "Begin," the referee announced. Thork charged immediately, closing the distance with surprising speed for his size. His armored fist swung in a wide arc meant to end the fight with one blow. Minho sidestepped. The punch sailed past, and Thork stumbled slightly from the missed momentum. Before he could recover, Minho was already moving, circling to Thork's side. Thork spun and charged again. Another massive punch, another sidestep. "Stand still and fight," Thork roared. But Minho did not stand still. He kept moving, kept circling, forcing Thork to chase him. 30 seconds became a minute. 1 minute became 2. Thork's charges became slightly slower. His breathing grew heavier. "Is the human running away?" someone in the crowd asked. "No," Hana Song said quietly. "He is hunting." At the 3-minute mark, Thork was noticeably tired. His armor was heavy, and chasing Minho around the mat was exhausting. He threw another punch, but this time he was slow enough that Minho could counter. Minho did not try to block the armored fist. Instead, he moved inside the swing and targeted Thork's elbow joint, where the armor plate separated. His strike was precise, hitting the nerve cluster Jin had shown him. Thork's arm went momentarily numb. His eyes widened in surprise. Before he could react, Minho swept Thork's lead leg. The Krethin, off balance and tired, crashed to the mat. Minho immediately took his back, wrapping his legs around Thork's waist and his arm around Thork's thick neck. Thork thrashed, trying to use his strength to break free. But Minho had positioned his body perfectly, using angles and leverage. He squeezed, cutting off blood flow to Thork's brain. 10 seconds passed. Thork's movements became weaker. His hand slapped the mat 3 times. Submission. The arena went completely silent. Minho released the hold and stood. He was breathing hard, covered in sweat, but he offered Thork a hand up. The Krethin stared at the hand for a moment, then accepted it. "How?" Thork asked, confused and impressed. "You're stronger than me," Minho said. "But strength means nothing if you can't land a hit. And everyone gets tired eventually." Vorin's expression in the instructors section was dark and unreadable, but several other trainees were looking at Minho with new eyes. The human had just beaten a Krethin in unarmed combat. That should have been impossible. Hana Song caught Minho's eye from the crowd and gave a small nod of respect. Yuna was grinning. "You did it. You actually did it." "One match," Minho said, wiping sweat from his face. "There are a lot more coming." That night, Instructor Vorin reviewed the match footage alone in his office. He watched Minho's movements, the way the human conserved energy, the precise targeting of weak points, the patience to wait for the right moment. Instructor Kara, a wise luminar who taught strategy courses, entered without knocking. "Interesting match today," she said. "Lucky," Vorin grunted. "Was it? Or is the human using techniques you do not understand?" Vorin bristled. "Primitive grappling and running away. That is not real combat." "And yet he won," Kara said gently. Perhaps there is more than one way to be a warrior, Vorin. Perhaps humans have simply found a different path. She left before he could respond. Vorin returned to the footage. He watched Minho move, watched him think, watched him win against an opponent who should have crushed him. For the first time, a small seed of doubt entered the instructor's mind. Maybe the human was not just lucky. Minho darted behind him and jumped onto his back, wrapping his legs around Goreth's waist. The second day ended with only 8 fighters remaining. The crowd had grown even larger for the third and final day. Federation news networks broadcast the tournament across dozens of worlds. The human who kept winning had become a story, and everyone wanted to see if he could continue. Minho sat in the medical bay that evening, ice packs on his shoulders and knees. His whole body was one giant bruise. Jin checked his vitals with increasing concern. "You're running on fumes," the doctor said. "Your body is screaming for rest." "One more day," Minho said. "Just need to survive one more day. 2 matches if you keep winning. Against the best fighters in the tournament. Fighters who are bigger, stronger, and fresher than you." "I know." Jin sighed and injected him with anti-inflammatory medication. "At least let this help with the swelling. And try to get actual sleep tonight. Your body needs to repair." But sleep did not come easily. Minho lay in his quarters staring at the ceiling, thinking about tomorrow's match. The bracket showed his semi-final opponent, Crystallix, the shard-born warrior whose diamond-hard body seemed invincible. He had watched her matches. She was nearly impossible to hurt. Strikes bounced off her crystalline skin. Grappling seemed useless because she could simply shrug off holds with her superior strength. 2 of her opponents had injured themselves trying to attack her. How do you fight someone you cannot hurt? A message notification blinked on his datapad. It was from Hana Song, just 3 words. "Trust your training." Minho smiled slightly. Tomorrow Hana would face Dax in the other semifinal. Both were incredible fighters. He hoped Hana would win, but Dax was a prodigy, one of the most skilled Vex warriors in a generation. Finally, exhaustion overcame anxiety, and Minho slept. The third day dawned to massive crowds. The Biodome arena was packed beyond capacity, with beings standing in the aisles. The entire Federation was watching now. Even Earth Command had sent a message to Minho's datapad. "The whole planet is watching. Make us proud." No pressure, he thought again. The semi-final matchups were displayed on massive holographic screens. First match, Dax versus Hana Song. Second match, Minho Park versus Crystallix. Minho found Hana before her match. She was in a meditation pose, her 4 eyes closed, her 6 arms held in a specific pattern. "Hana," he said quietly. Her eyes opened. "Minho, are you ready for your match?" "I should ask you the same thing." "Dax is incredible." "Yes," she agreed. "He is faster than me. More technically skilled. He will likely win." "Then why are you smiling?" "Because I will make him work for it. And because, win or lose, I have already learned something important here. There is honor in fighting your own way, not just the way others expect." They touched hands briefly, a gesture of mutual respect. Then Hana walked to the arena floor. The match between Hana and Dax was beautiful to watch. 6 arms versus 6 arms, speed versus strategy. Dax moved like flowing water, his strikes coming from impossible angles. But Hana fought with intelligence, using positioning and timing to compensate for her slight disadvantage in speed. They fought for 8 minutes. The crowd was completely silent, absorbed in the technical excellence on display. Finally, Dax found an opening. His lower arms swept Hana's legs while his middle arms controlled her upper body. His top arms locked around her neck. Hana struggled but could not break free. She tapped submission. The crowd erupted in applause. Both fighters stood and bowed to each other, all 12 arms crossing in the Vex gesture of ultimate respect. Dax spoke to her, his voice too quiet for the microphones, but Minho could read his mandibles. "You are a true warrior. It was an honor." Hana left the arena with her head high. As she passed Minho in the fighter's tunnel, she stopped. "He is very skilled," she said, "but he is also patient. He waits for mistakes. Do not give him any. I'll try. And Minho?" She touched his shoulder with one hand. "You have shown everyone that strength comes in many forms. Do not stop now." Then it was time for his match. Minho walked onto the arena floor. Crystallix stood waiting, her body refracting light into rainbow patterns. She was beautiful and terrifying, a living sculpture of diamond and death. The crowd quieted. This was the match they wanted to see. The unstoppable Shardborn versus the surprising human. Instructor Voron's voice came through the speakers. He was acting as referee for the semifinals. "Fighters ready?" Minho nodded. His heart hammered in his chest. "Begin!" Crystallix did not charge. She walked forward slowly, confidently. Why rush when nothing could hurt her? Minho circled, studying her movement. Crystallix rotated to follow him, her crystalline body making small clicking sounds as the plates moved against each other. She struck first, a straight punch aimed at Minho's chest. He dodged, but barely. The fist passed close enough that he felt the air displacement. It would have shattered his ribs. Another strike. Another dodge. Crystallix was not fast, but she did not need to be. One hit would end the fight. Minho remembered his training with Jin. Crystal was hard but brittle. It did not bend. Apply the right force at the right angle and it would fracture. But how to apply force when he could not hurt her with strikes? Crystallix swung again. This time, instead of dodging, Minho moved inside the punch and grabbed her arm with both hands. Not to stop it, but to redirect it. He used her own momentum, adding a twisting motion, turning her punch into an awkward angle. Crystallix stumbled slightly, surprised. Her arm had been forced to bend in a way it did not want to. "Clever," she said, "but not enough." She pulled her arm free easily with her superior strength. But Minho had learned something. Her crystalline body had joints just like any other. Those joints were the weak points. The fight continued. Minho could not trade blows with her, could not grapple normally, but he could move, could redirect, could use leverage. Crystallix grew frustrated. She extended her arm and crystalline spikes grew from her forearm, turning her limb into a weapon. She stabbed forward, trying to impale Minho. He ducked and rolled. The spike embedded itself in the ground, and there it was. The opening, the spike was stuck. Crystallix pulled to free it, but for a moment her arm was locked in place. Minho darted forward and grabbed the extended limb at the elbow joint. He planted his foot and twisted, applying torque in the direction the crystal could not bend. A sharp cracking sound echoed through the arena. The crystal spike fractured at the base. Crystallix roared in pain and shock. She ripped her arm free and the damaged spike fell to the ground. Her left forearm now ended in a jagged stump where the spike had broken off. The crowd gasped. Someone had actually damaged the Shardborn. Crystallix's eyes blazed with rage and new wariness. She extended spikes from her other arm, more cautious now. They circled each other again. Minho was breathing hard. Crystallix was injured but still dangerous. She attacked more carefully now, not overextending. But caution made her slower. And Minho had proven the tactic worked. The fight became a game of patience. Crystallix would attack. Minho would evade and look for opportunities to apply twisting force to her joints. She would pull back before he could secure a good grip. 10 minutes passed. 15. Crystallix was not tired, but she was increasingly frustrated. Her damaged arm limited her options, and the human simply would not stop moving. She made a mistake. She overextended a kick, her crystalline leg stretching for extra reach. Minho dropped low and grabbed her ankle with both hands. Before she could react, he twisted and pulled, using all his body weight. Another crack, Crystallix's leg fractured at the knee joint. Not completely broken, but damaged enough that she could not put weight on it. She collapsed to one knee, her face contorted in pain. Minho did not hesitate. He moved to her damaged side and applied a standing arm lock to her good arm, wrenching it behind her at an angle that threatened the shoulder joint. "Yield," he said, not with malice, but with respect. "You fought well, but this is over." Crystallix struggled briefly, but with one arm already damaged and the other locked, with one leg fractured beneath her, she had no options left. Her pride warred with practicality. Finally, she tapped the ground with her free hand 3 times. Submission. The arena exploded in noise. The crowd was on their feet, cheering, shouting, disbelieving. A human had just defeated a Shardborn warrior. Minho released the lock and helped Crystallix to her feet. She leaned on him, unable to stand on her damaged leg. "How?" she asked, genuinely confused. "Crystal is beautiful and strong," Minho said. "But it breaks if you apply force at the right angle. I just had to find those angles." Medics rushed to tend to Crystallix. Jin was immediately at Minho's side. "That was insane," the doctor said. "Brilliant, but insane." Yuna crashed into him with a hug that made his bruised ribs scream. "You're in the finals. A human is in the finals of the Crucible." "The finals?" Minho looked at the holographic display showing the bracket. His opponent, Dax, the Vex prodigy. In the instructor section, Vorin sat frozen. He had just watched a human systematically dismantle a fighter who should have been invincible. The crowd was chanting Minho's name. Earth flags waved throughout the stands. Instructor Kara sat beside him, her expression serene. "You were wrong about humans," she said simply. Vorin watched Minho on the arena floor, exhausted but standing, surrounded by cheering humans and increasingly respectful alien fighters. "Yes," Vorin said quietly. "I was wrong, T." The transport shuttle touched down on Station Nexus 7 with a gentle thud. Minho Park pressed his face against the window and stared at the massive military facility floating in space. The station was 10 times larger than anything he had seen back on Earth. Lights blinked along its metal corridors like stars, and ships of every shape and size docked at its ports. He took a deep breath. This was it. The Galactic Combat Academy. Earth had only joined the Federation 3 years ago, and he was one of the first humans to train here. No pressure, he thought with a nervous smile. The airlock hissed open. Minho grabbed his bag and stepped into the station. The corridor ahead was crowded with beings he had only seen in training videos. A massive creature covered in thick armor plates stomped past, each footstep making the floor vibrate. Another being floated by with crystalline skin that reflected the lights like a prism. A third had 6 arms and moved with incredible grace. Minho felt very small and very soft. "First time seeing real aliens?" a voice asked in Korean. He turned to see a young woman with short black hair and sharp eyes. She wore the same gray trainee uniform he did. "That obvious?" Minho asked. "You had the look," she said with a grin. "I'm Yuna Choi, Mars Colony, Minho Park, Seoul." They shook hands and walked together through the winding corridors. Other trainees passed them, most towering over the 2 humans. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few seemed to be made of living stone. None of them looked friendly. The orientation hall was enormous. Hundreds of trainees filled the seats, representing dozens of species. Minho and Yuna found spots near the back. A holographic display flickered to life at the front of the room. A figure stepped into the light. He was a Krethen, one of the armored species Minho had read about. His exoskeleton was scarred from countless battles, and his eyes were cold and hard. Battle decorations covered his chest plate. "I am Instructor Vorin," the Krethen announced. His voice boomed through the hall. "Welcome to the Galactic Combat Academy. You are here because your species has proven itself worthy of Federation membership. But worthiness to join is not the same as worthiness to fight." The hologram behind him shifted, showing images of combat training. Brutal hand-to-hand fighting between species with claws, fangs, and natural weapons. "In 6 months you will face the Crucible," Vorin continued. "A tournament where you will fight using only your natural abilities. No weapons. No technology. Just what evolution gave you." The images changed to show various species in combat. A Vex warrior moved with blinding speed, all 6 arms striking at once. A Shardborn warrior's crystalline body deflected every blow. A Krethen like Vorin himself shattered a training dummy with 1 armored fist. "Each species brings their gifts to combat," Vorin said. "The Krethens have armor and strength. The Vex have speed and multiple limbs. The Shardborn have impenetrable hides. The Serpix have venom. Every warrior race has evolved to dominate." He paused and his eyes swept across the room. They landed on Minho and Yuna. "And then there are humans," Vorin said slowly. "Soft skin. No claws, no armor. No venom, average strength. Average speed," he shook his head. "You are prey pretending to be predators." Laughter rippled through the hall. A massive Krethen a few rows ahead turned to look at Minho and Yuna with something like pity. A Vex trainee clicked his mandibles in what might have been amusement. Yuna's jaw tightened. Minho kept his face neutral. Vorin gestured to the hologram. "Let me demonstrate what I mean. Computer. Display human physical capabilities compared to Federation standard." Charts appeared. They were not flattering. Humans ranked in the bottom third for strength, bottom half for speed, and middle for endurance. The only category where humans ranked highly was cognitive flexibility, whatever that meant. "As you can see," Vorin said with satisfaction, "humans have nothing that makes them dangerous in combat. They survived on their homeworld through tools and cleverness, not natural gifts. In unarmed combat, they are helpless." Minho raised his hand. The entire hall went quiet. Vorin's eyes narrowed. "Yes, human. What counts as a natural ability for humans?" Minho asked calmly. Vorin snorted. Whatever pitiful advantages your evolution gave you, though I suspect you will find none. More laughter. Even some of the instructors along the walls seemed amused, but one figure did not laugh. A female Vex with unusual markings sat 3 rows ahead. She turned to look at Minho with curious eyes, her head tilting slightly. Any other questions? Vorin asked, his tone making it clear he hoped there were not. Silence. Good. Training begins at dawn cycle. Dismissed. The trainees began filing out. Minho and Yuna walked slowly, letting the crowd thin. Prey pretending to be predators, Yuna muttered. I want to punch him. He probably has armor under that uniform too, Minho said. I know. That's what makes it worse. They reached the dormitory level. The rooms were small but functional. Minho found his assigned quarters and dropped his bag on the narrow bed. The window looked out into space and he could see Earth in the distance, a blue marble against the black. A message notification blinked on his datapad. It was from Jin Lee, the human doctor stationed at the academy. The message was short. Orientation rough? Come see me in Medical Bay 7 if you need to talk. We humans need to stick together. Minho appreciated the gesture but declined. Instead, he pulled up files on the academy's database. Information about the different species. Their strengths, their weaknesses, their combat styles. He spent hours reading. The Crethans were strong but slow. The Vex were fast, but their exoskeleton had weak points at the joints. The Shardborn were nearly indestructible, but their crystalline structure made them inflexible. Every species had advantages. Every species also had disadvantages. The next morning, training began. It was brutal. Instructor Vorin led Combat Group Theta 9 through a series of exercises designed to test their natural combat abilities. Minho and Yuna were placed in the group with a dozen other species. A young Crethan named Krell punched a training drone so hard it flew across the room and shattered against the wall. A Vex named Dax moved through an obstacle course with incredible speed, his 6 arms allowing him to climb and strike simultaneously. The Shardborn trainee called Crystallic simply walked through a barrier, her diamond-hard skin undamaged. Then it was the human's turn. Minho approached the punching drone. He hit it as hard as he could. It rocked slightly. That was all. Pathetic, Vorin said flatly. Yuna tried the obstacle course. She made it halfway before exhaustion forced her to stop. Dax had completed it in less than a minute. This is what I mean, Vorin announced to the group. Humans are not built for combat. They will fail the crucible. They will embarrass themselves and their planet. Krell laughed, a deep rumbling sound. Several other trainees joined in. But the female Vex, the one with the unusual markings, did not laugh. She watched Minho carefully, her 4 eyes blinking in a pattern he did not understand. After training, as everyone filed out, she approached him. I am Hana Song, she said. Her voice was soft but clear. Minho Park. You did not react to the instructor's words, Hana observed. Would reacting help? No, she admitted. But most beings would react anyway. Minho smiled slightly. Then most beings waste energy. Hana tilted her head again, that same curious gesture. You are interesting, human. I will watch your progress. She walked away before he could respond. Minho returned to his quarters that night exhausted and bruised. His muscles ached from trying to keep up with species stronger and faster than him, but his mind was working. Vorin was right about one thing. Humans did not have claws or armor or venom. They were not the strongest or the fastest. But that did not mean they were helpless. Evolution had given humans something else. Something the instructor had dismissed. Minho pulled up more files on his datapad. This time he was not reading about aliens. He was reading about humans. About persistence hunting. About endurance. About adaptability. About the ability to run for days while prey collapsed from exhaustion. About throwing accuracy. About sweat glands that allowed cooling during extended activity. Prey pretending to be predators, Vorin had said. Minho thought about that as he stared at Earth in the distance. No, he thought. Prey that learned to hunt, that was different, that was dangerous. The morning of the finals arrived with Federation-wide attention. The tournament had become more than just a military exercise. It had become a statement about what it meant to be a warrior. Every major news network carried live coverage. On Earth, billions paused their daily lives to watch. Throughout the Federation, beings from hundreds of species tuned in. The human who should not have made it past the first round was now one match away from winning the entire crucible. Minho woke early, his body protesting every movement. Jean had worked on him late into the night, treating injuries, administering legal healing accelerators, doing everything possible to get him ready. But there was only so much medicine could do. How bad? Minho asked, looking at his reflection. Purple bruises covered his ribs. His shoulders were swollen. His knuckles were wrapped in medical tape. Honestly, you should be in a hospital bed not preparing for the most important fight of your life, Jin said. He handed Minho a stimulant injection. This will help with the pain and keep you sharp. But Minho, listen to me. You have nothing to prove anymore. You have already shown everyone what humans can do. If you need to withdraw, I won't withdraw. Dax is fresh. He is skilled. His 6 arms. I know, Minho interrupted gently. I know what I am facing. But I did not come this far to quit now. Jin sighed and helped him with final preparations. Yuna arrived with breakfast, though Minho could barely eat. His stomach was tight with nerves. The walk to the arena felt surreal. Other fighters, even those eliminated early, lined the corridor. They nodded with respect as he passed. Krell, the Cretan who had mocked him in training, actually bowed. Crystalix, her arm and leg in healing cast, touched his shoulder as he walked by. Fight well, human, she said. The arena was beyond capacity. Beings packed every available space. The noise was deafening. When Minho stepped onto the arena floor, one entire section erupted in cheers. The human section had grown. Earth personnel, human traders, even some aliens who had been inspired by his journey. Dax was already waiting. The Vex warrior stood calm and centered, all 6 arms held in a meditation pose. His exoskeleton was unmarked, his movements fluid and precise. He looked like he could fight for days without tiring. They approached the center of the arena. Instructor Vorin stood between them, his role as referee giving him a clear view of what might be the most important match of his career. This is the final match of the Crucible, Vorin announced. His voice carried through the arena. 2 warriors remain. Dax of the Vex, Minho Park of Earth. He paused, looking between them. You will fight with honor. You will fight with everything you have. And may the better warrior win. Dax and Minho faced each other. I have watched you fight, Dax said quietly. You are skilled in ways I did not expect. It will be an honor to face you. The honor is mine, Minho replied. You are incredible, Dax. One of us will leave this arena as champion, but both of us are already warriors. Dax extended all 6 arms in a gesture of respect. Minho matched it with his 2. Vorin raised his hand. The arena fell silent. Tens of thousands held their breath. Begin. Dax moved immediately, closing distance with explosive speed. 6 arms became a blur of strikes. High, low, middle, all angles at once. Minho's world narrowed to survival. He could not match the speed, could not block all the strikes. He focused on the vital areas, protecting his head and neck, accepting hits to his arms and body. 3 punches landed in rapid succession. His ribs screamed. His shoulder went numb, but he stayed on his feet, backing away, creating distance. Dax pursued. His 6 arms worked in perfect coordination, each one independent but part of a greater whole. He was not just skilled. He was an artist. The first minute was pure defense for Minho. Dodging, blocking, retreating. The crowd watched in tense silence. But Minho was not just defending. He was studying, watching patterns. Dax's 6 arms were incredible, but they still had to work through the same shoulder structure. There were patterns. High, low, high. Left, right, center. Fast, fast, slow. Patterns meant predictability. The second minute, Minho stopped retreating. When Dax attacked with his upper arms, Minho slipped inside the range and struck at Dax's middle section, not hard enough to hurt through the exoskeleton, but enough to disrupt the rhythm. Dax adjusted, attacking with middle arms. Minho targeted the legs. You are learning, Dax observed, not winded at all. Always learning, Minho replied, breathing hard. They circled each other. The biodome's environment shifted beneath them, the terrain changing to forest. Trees provided obstacles, breaking up Dax's lines of attack. Minho used the environment. He put trees between himself and Dax, forcing the Vex to navigate around them. It bought seconds of rest. Precious seconds. 5 minutes in, Minho was bleeding from a cut above his eye. His body was accumulating damage. But Dax had not yet landed a finishing blow. You cannot win by running, Dax said. Not mocking, but honest. Not running. Hunting. Dax tilted his head, mandibles clicking in what might have been amusement. Then let us see who is the better hunter. The pace increased. Dax attacked with renewed intensity, his 6 arms creating combinations that seemed impossible to defend. Minho took more hits. His vision blurred. Pain radiated through his entire body, but he was learning. Each exchange taught him more about Dax's patterns, about which arms favored which angles, about the microsecond delay between combinations. 10 minutes in, Minho saw his opening. Dax attacked with his upper 2 arms, a powerful combination aimed at Minho's head. Minho blocked, accepting the damage to his forearms. But while those 2 arms were committed, he moved inside Dax's guard and grabbed the middle 2 arms. For just a moment, Minho trapped 2 of Dax's 6 arms against his body. Dax tried to pull free, but Minho held on with desperate strength. It was not about overpowering Dax. It was about controlling his center of mass. Minho hooked his leg behind Dax's and pushed. They went down together, crashing to the forest floor. On the ground, everything changed. Standing, Dax had the advantage. His 6 arms created overwhelming offense. But on the ground, with bodies pressed together, having more arms became less important. Positioning mattered more. Weight distribution. Leverage. Things humans had spent thousands of years mastering in grappling arts. Minho worked to secure a dominant position. Dax fought back with incredible skill. They rolled across the ground, each trying to gain advantage. 4 of Dax's arms worked to create space while 2 defended against submissions. Minho targeted 1 arm at a time. He trapped Dax's lower right arm, controlling it against the ground. Then he worked to isolate the middle right arm. You fight strangely on the ground, Dax grunted, straining. Humans spent a long time fighting each other, Minho replied through gritted teeth. We got good at it. 15 minutes in, both fighters were exhausted. But Dax was tiring faster. His 6 arms required more oxygen, more energy. The ground fighting negated his speed advantage. Minho secured a mounted position, his legs wrapped around Dax's torso, his weight pinning the Vex warrior down. 4 of Dax's arms pushed at Minho's body, trying to create space. The other 2 defended his neck. This was the critical moment. Minho made a decision. He released his mount and transitioned to Dax's side, accepting the risk of losing position for a chance at a submission. He trapped one of Dax's arms between his legs, controlling it completely. His own arm snaked around Dax's neck. Dax realized the danger. He used his free arms to push at Minho's head, trying to prevent the choke from locking in. But Minho had already secured his grip. He pulled his arm tight across Dax's neck, his other hand grabbing his own wrist to complete the lock. An arm triangle choke. One of the oldest submissions in human grappling. It used Dax's own arm to help cut off blood flow to his brain. Dax struggled. His free arms pushed and pulled. His legs kicked. But Minho's position was perfect. He had locked his legs around Dax's body, controlling his hips, preventing escape. He squeezed with everything he had left. 5 seconds passed. Dax's movements became weaker. 10 seconds. The crowd was screaming, but Minho heard nothing but his own heartbeat and Dax's struggling breath. 15 seconds. Dax's free arms slowed, no longer coordinated. 20 seconds. Dax had a choice. Tap out or lose consciousness. His hand slapped the ground 3 times. Tap, tap, tap. The referee's whistle blew. Submission. Winner, Minho Park. The arena exploded. Minho released the choke immediately and rolled away, gasping for air. Dax lay still for a moment, breathing hard, recovering from near unconsciousness. Medics rushed onto the field. Jin reached Minho first. You did it, Jin said, his voice choked with emotion. You actually did it. Yuna was crying and laughing at the same time, trying to hug Minho without hurting his injuries. The human section of the crowd was going insane. Earth flags waved everywhere. Strangers hugged each other. Some were openly weeping. Dax sat up slowly, his 6 arms moving uncoordinatedly as blood flow returned to normal. Minho crawled over to him. Are you okay? Minho asked. Dax looked at him, mandibles clicking in what was definitely a smile. I am beaten, but I am honored. He extended all 6 arms. You fought with incredible skill, human. I underestimated you. We all did. You are amazing, Dax. Thank you for the match. They helped each other stand, both warriors exhausted and battered. Instructor Voran approached, and behind him came other instructors, officials, and dignitaries. But Varin got there first. He looked at M.